You got your blood work done, and then your doctor reviewed it for you, and they told you everything was fine, but yet you still feel terrible, right? So your energy is low, and you're struggling to lose stubborn body fat. You have no motivation to go to the gym, and maybe you're dealing with like energy and sex drive issues, but yet your doctor takes a 5-second glance at the blood work that you had done a week ago and says everything is fine, work out and eat healthy. Now, I don't know about you, but that's the most frustrating thing that I think I personally have ever dealt with in my entire life. Well, here's the uncomfortable truth about that. And the fact is that normal doesn't always mean optimized. It can simply mean that nothing on the blood work you had done came back flagged enough for your doctor to take a deeper look into it. And so, yeah, you were given 5 minutes, told everything was fine, drink more water, exercise, go lose some weight, eat healthy, right? Maybe they handed you a little print off of like the Atkins diet or a low carb diet, but they didn't give you any actual clarity as to the problems that you're dealing with. Meanwhile, your body has been screaming at you for months. Today, I'm going to show you what your blood work can actually reveal, what numbers most men miss and aren't testing for, and how to stop guessing about your health. Because trainers guess, I test. Most men and most doctors simply treat blood work like a pass or fail. Is everything within range? Pass. Did nothing came back as a flag? Pass. But one number highlighted in red, and that's a fail, and then they have to go home and ask ChatGPT what that number even means, and it spits out some ridiculous answer that you have to Google because you just don't understand it. You see, the problem with that is that's not how your body works. A reference range is actually created using results collected from a group of people, and it can actually vary significantly between laboratories, demographics, populations, and different methods of testing. And the problem is being inside that range just lumps you into the general demographic. It doesn't actually tell you whether or not you feel good. Your blood work is not really just a collection of random numbers. You should read it like a dashboard. But most men are only being shown 3 warning lights when realistically there's a total of 71 biomarkers that you should be checking when you get your blood work done. They get a basic physical, they see that nothing is catastrophic, maybe a little bit high cholesterol or something like that. Their doctor tells them to clean up their diet, eat less red meat, and then they're like, boom, okay, everything is fine on my blood work. I guess it's just a lifestyle problem. They assume that the low energy, the poor sleep, the lack of libido, the inability to lose body fat, they just assume it's due to personal lifestyle habits and their own failures. So they blame themselves, right? I must be getting lazy, I need more discipline, I need a different plan, and then they start Googling like crazy, and then they've got some sort of fad diet that they'll follow for a week or two. They'll see some results, and then they'll just stop because realistically, they can't adhere to it. It's just impossible for them to do with their lifestyles. Well, I guess this is what happens after the age of 30, 40, 50, whatever you want to put in there. No, that's not what happens, and that's not the way that you should feel, and you should deal with this kind of thing. You might be trying to solve a biological and hormonal problem with motivational quotes and a key. Your standard physical typically consists of a CBC, a CMP, and occasionally a lipid panel. A complete blood count can give you information about your red blood cells, white blood cells, hemoglobin, hematocrit, bunch of important numbers. A comprehensive metabolic panel, which is your CMP, can give you information about your insulin, your blood sugar, electrolytes, proteins, liver, that kind of stuff. But the problem is a comprehensive metabolic panel isn't a comprehensive breakdown of how you feel. It's just called a comprehensive metabolic panel. In fact, it doesn't even check your testosterone levels. It doesn't mean that your thyroid was examined in detail. And it doesn't mean your inflammation, your insulin, your nutrient status. It doesn't mean your cardiovascular risk was even taken into account here. It simply means you received the specific tests that they have on that panel. Comprehensive metabolic panel. That's why I don't look at just one isolated number that comes back flagged when we review blood work. You need to look for pattern. So let's go ahead and start with the guy that just is dealing with a little bit of stubborn body fat and can't lose his stomach. He's tried cutting calories, he's tried skipping breakfast, he's tried endless hours on the treadmill, he's tried the keto diet, he's tried the Atkins diet, he's tried the paleo diet, the carnivore diet, he's done every single diet that you could ever imagine, right? But he just can't get rid of the last 10 to 20 pounds on his belly. He just can't get his abs in. Okay, so he thinks he's broken. But then I take a look at his panels, I look at the blood work that we pull over here, 71 biomarkers, and it's like, well, there you go, dude, there's your issue. His fasting glucose level may not be dramatically high, but that's only one part of the picture. Depending on the person, we we might want to understand as well hemoglobin A1C. We might want to look into like triglycerides, HDL levels. I mean, cortisol is one big thing to consider as well. Like your A1C level is going to estimate your glucose over an extended period of time rather than just one snapshot. When you get your glucose levels checked, it's literally just a snapshot of one point in time. Where are your sugars at that given moment? Triglycerides are fat that's circulating in the blood, and HDL helps provide additional context with the rest of the panel. When multiple markers begin moving in the wrong direction simultaneously, it can actually give us a better picture as to what's going on rather than just looking at one at a time. Now, this doesn't mean that you go and diagnose yourself from Instagram, and in fact, I'm not a doctor. I can't cure, treat, prevent, or diagnose any diseases, and obviously this isn't medical advice. Only your physician can do that. That's their job, is to diagnose, treat, prevent, and cure diseases. That's what they're licensed to do. However, it means that you stop saying, my glucose was fine, so nothing is wrong. I just need to work harder. Your body can show you warning signs before you get the giant red flashing light that says there's an emergency. And when that pattern is identified, you can become significantly more specific on what you need to do. You can address nutrition quality, total calories, sleep, energy. I mean, there's a million factors behind here that you can actually start analyzing and put together a strategy to help you reach your goals. And let me tell you, that's going to work a lot better than another 30-day challenge. Now, let's talk about the number that every man wants to see. This is the first thing that I hear out of every dude's mouth: testosterone. Now, a lot of guys will get one testosterone test taken at the wrong time. It'll fall within range, bottom range. It's not going to come back flagged, and your doctor's going to say you're fine because it falls within the range, right? It's green, it's not red. It's not under 260 or 240, whatever the bottom range is. They say, well, you're okay, you're within range here. That's not a complete evaluation. Now, clinical guidelines are going to recommend only checking for testosterone when a man is presenting symptoms. And testing is generally repeated early in the morning because testosterone is typically a little bit higher first thing in the day. And of course, total testosterone isn't the end of the conversation. You also want to check sex hormone binding globule, or SHBG. That marker can mean two men with the same amount of total testosterone might not have the same bioavailability of it in their bloodstream. Now, depending on the situation, a physician could potentially recommend that you get tested. Total testosterone, free testosterone, LH, FSH, cortisol. There's stuff like prolactin, there's stuff like progesterone, thyroid markers, and of course, looking into stuff like medications and sleep and body fat and everything else. That's a very different process from, are you tired? Here's testosterone. Or the exact opposite. You're inside the range, go home, which nobody wants to hear that when they're not feeling good. Both extremes, in my opinion, are lazy because the goal is to not chase the highest testosterone level possible, but it's also to not just pick a number that says within range and call it a day. Now, next up is cardiovascular health, which is a huge concern for men as it's the #1 killer of men in America: heart disease. Most men, and I say most sparingly here, were taught that HDL is good, LDL is bad. Boom, that's it. End of the lesson. That's not the end of it. A standard lipid panel is going to include HDL, LDL, total cholesterol, and triglycerides. Now, that's a great start, but it's not necessarily the end of the line if you want the full picture. They're useful, but they should also be interpreted along with other factors such as blood pressure, blood sugar, and then multiple other indicators for cholesterol. And in some cases, a physician might even consider ordering a test called apolipoprotein B, or APO. Now, this doesn't mean that every single person out there is going to need an advanced lipid panel like this, but it does mean that a single total cholesterol value doesn't dictate the whole story. And this matters because heart disease doesn't care how big your shoulders and chest are. It doesn't care if you have a six-pack. Totally irrelevant. You can be strong, you can be lean, you can be jacked, and you can still die of a heart attack. Looking healthy and being healthy are not identical by any means. Bodybuilders die every single year. Ask me how I know. Now, another mistake that men make is they feel tired, so the first thing that they assume is it's got to be low testosterone. Well, sometimes it is, and sometimes other hormones are involved as well. But fatigue is one of the least specific symptoms on the entire planet. You could be fatigued because you didn't get enough sleep or you didn't drink enough water. You could be sleeping for 5 hours, you could be under recovering, you could be overtraining, you could just be stressed out, it could be cortisol related. And believe it or not, you could be carrying excess body fat, which is a huge cause of most of what we've talked about today. But this is why it's so important that when you get blood work done, your physician should be interpreting it with other symptoms. They should be looking at the symptoms and the blood work to determine what the problem actually is. Medical history, medications, training, and then history of family health issues. Of course, depending on what's going on, additional tests may need to be ordered, which is why you should always refer to your physician, but it just kind of sucks when you feel like they're not listening to you and they're not looking at the lab work that you had done. Now, the answer to this isn't to go and order every single test you can get at LabCorp or Quest Diagnostics because some dude on YouTube told you to do so. The answer is to ask better questions. What changed? When did it change? Which symptoms appeared together? What has been tested? What has not been tested? And are we looking at just one result, or are we looking at multiple results and trends across lab tests? That is how you correctly and accurately investigate a problem. Now we need to talk about optimization culture, because this is where I see people just get ridiculously stupid. They see one influencer's blood work panel and they think they got to go do the same thing themselves. Oh, this guy had low vitamin D and then he took vitamin D supplements and he felt better. I need vitamin D because I feel tired. It's not how it works. They'll start taking a bunch of supplements and changing medications just because their favorite influencer told them to do so. Well, you should look up what happens when you take too much vitamin D. It's not a fun time. Blood work is individualized and it provides context. An abnormal result, a single abnormal result, doesn't mean anything until it's diagnosed by a physician. A normal result doesn't mean there's no problems. In fact, a hard workout can actually move certain markers, like your ALT and AST, which typically determine liver health. Being hydrated can affect a lot of your numbers, and hormones may vary based on timing throughout the day. But this is why trends are so valuable, because it provides data. Think of it like this. One test is a photograph, but if you start to put together multiple photographs, what does that become? It becomes a movie. So instead of asking, is this number good or is this number bad, what does this number mean in context here? So you might want to know what the process is that I take for my own blood work and the blood work of the clients that we work with. Step 1, stop testing randomly. Your test should match the problem you are trying to investigate. And of course, the only person who can actually answer and offer you the results or answers you're looking for is going to be your physician, which means you can test all you want, but at the end of the day, your doctor is technically going to have the yes or no say on what's going on. And again, I'm telling you, I'm not a physician, which is why we have physicians that we work with here to prescribe blood work. Step 2 is going to be controlling the testing conditions. Fasted, first thing in the morning, go get it done, no stress, no workouts, no energy drinks, just wake up, go get your blood work checked first thing in the morning, and then make sure it's the same day of the week, the same time, everything. The more factors that you can keep similar, the more accurate the blood work is going to be. And now, of course, by this I mean follow the testing instructions that the laboratory has given you. Some of them need to be fasted, some of them don't. Step 3, you need to evaluate the systems, not the isolated number. Glucose regulation is a system. Lipids are a system. Inflammation is a system. The body is connected. Everything works in systems, so look at it as a movie, not a picture. And then, of course, step 4 is you need to turn the information into an actual plan, preferably under the guidance of your doctor. However, your results should influence and dictate what you do next in regards to your training, in regards to your nutrition, in regards to your supplementation. Everything that you're doing can be easily influenced by the results that you get on your blood work. More daily movement, training changes, better sleep, better water intake and hydration, electrolytes even. There's a ton of stuff that you can change based on your blood work panels. And of course, working with a qualified medical provider in order to do this is probably a good idea. Blood work without action is just trivia, but action without blood work is just guessing. You need both information and execution. I don't want you to think that you're lazy just because you're exhausted. Something may or may not be wrong, and the reason that I'm filming this video is to educate you a little bit more on how we use blood work at Noble Nutrition in my company in order to help put together accurate plans in order to optimize the labs. You're not broken now just because you're in your mid-30s or mid-40s. What worked for you when you had the hormones in the body of a 20-year-old probably isn't going to work for you when you're in your late 40s. Yeah. And of course, you should absolutely see a physician for any of this. And I know I started the video saying that it's frustrating that your doctor isn't giving you more information. So I know that there's only really so much you can do, but it doesn't mean go get on a bunch of medications and jump on a handful of supplements and start changing everything. This is just purely educational to tell you, hey, this is kind of what we look at and this is what we do. Get the right tests, ask the right question, look for patterns, and then you build a plan around what your body is actually telling you. That's the difference between generic fitness advice and what we offer at at Noble Nutrition: generic fitness advice versus real health optimization. Trainers guess when they put together your programs. I test. And the best part about working with us is we actually start every single program off with a 71 biomarker lab test ordered by a licensed physician. We send it directly to you and you take it to LabCorp in order to get your results drawn, and then we get them within 7 to 8 days, and then we analyze them together. We want to help men get a clearer picture of what they're going through and what they're dealing with, rather than just being told everything is fine because it falls within range. If you're curious about the 71 biomarker method, go ahead and click the link below to learn more information. And if you'd like to have a direct consult with me or one of my team members, there's another link below in the description and we can go from there.